Over the past 10 years of doing this podcast, we've had the incredible good fortune to travel to some of the world's best golf resorts and destinations. Places like Whistling Straits, the ocean course at Kiowa, even going across the pond to Scotland and getting that full St. Andrews experience. But recently, just this year, we had a golf trip that really opened our eyes to what's out there. This is one of the best kept secrets in the game, and it's a place that absolutely has to be on your must travel list. This is a place that I would even dare say, Mike, could rival a trip to Pebble Beach. And since posting a little bit of content about it, you guys have been hopping in the comments and agreeing in a lot of ways that it might be something to look at versus Pebble Beach.
Oh yeah, I may agree with that too.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do here is a deep dive. We're going to talk about where it is, how to get to it, why you should be giving it a look. We're going to talk about accommodations, the different golf of courses there. That's the most important part, as well as some of the food and the things that you absolutely can't miss while you're there. Before we do, though, of course, we want to thank this podcast sponsor, Titleist. And guys, if you're in that pursuit of speed and playable distance, you have to check out the new GT drivers. Titleist engineers have developed a new material construction that unlocks the next generation of driving excellence. Mike and I, we had the recent opportunity to go and get fit for the new GT. Mike was fit into the GT3, which is really the ultimate of speed and control. You've got that adjustable CG track to really dial it in. And for me, just wanting a little bit more of that forgiveness, the GT2 is out of this world. You have that across the face, super consistent distance. And what we were so impressed with was the consistent spin number. So you owe it to yourselves to go out there, give the new GT lineup a try. They got the GT4 in there as well. If you're looking for that low spin performance, there is something in there for everyone. So to experience the GT, make sure you go check out a fitter near you. Go to Titleist.com. They will help hook you up with a fitter near you, and you can get the full experience. So let's get into this.
Let's talk experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
First and foremost, what we're talking about, if you haven't already kind of picked up on some of the hints, is Cabot Cape Breton. And one thing I'll say is if you are kind of a golf trip, kind of aficionado, I think Cabot is going to be a name that's going to be on the tip of your tongue a lot in the coming years because we're seeing a dramatic expansion.
They're popping up everywhere.
Of the Cabot brand. Exactly. They're taking what's worked for them and really replicating it in more places, announcing many, many new openings, including just a week ago, they announced Cabot Bordeaux, which is going to be in France, right? So I think one of the biggest things that Cabot does really well is they take these very unique destinations and they turn them into once-in-a-lifetime type of experiences.
Absolutely. And guys, by the way, this is in no way an ad for Cabot. We just had an absolute blast and honestly didn't even know this place existed.
Right.
So I love talking about it. I love talking about it when I see other golfers' buddies and they're like, yo, where were you with those sunsets? So this is going to be a fun
And I think that's a great point to bring up because the way that this came to us is the way that I think it's going to come to a lot of people who are discovering it for the first time. Maybe that's how you found this podcast. You're thinking about going and want to know more. It's that we've seen an explosion of Cabot Cape Breton on Instagram.
Yes.
It has become one of the most photographed golf locations in the world because of the cliff. Right. And it naturally leads to this, I need to find out more, and we kind of look into it. So the other Cabot location that we got to go to this year, we've been fortunate, like I said, to take many, many golf trips, but Cabot Citrus Farms, which is in Florida, brand new, just starting to open up. I think the reason why this Cabot Cape Breton, which has been open longer, it's been around for, I think, maybe 8 years now, why I think it's really golf's best kept secret is because too many people are writing it off as a place that's seemingly too far away.
Never gonna get there.
Or where is it, or not having a concept of it. And I will tell you, we were guilty of the same.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's like, where is this place? And it's too hard to get to, and I'll look at someplace closer. Couldn't be further from the truth. So let's start talking about some of those details. First of all, how to get there. So it's in Nova Scotia, Canada. So, you're going to need your passport if you're coming from the States. But super simple. We're coming from the New York area. We flew out of Newark, fly direct into Halifax, incredibly short flight, about an hour and a half.
It's an hour and a half just to get there. And for those of you who either don't do air travel or just want to save on cost, even you can physically drive there. Like even, especially if you're more northeast, Massachusetts folks, if you're up there in Maine, I mean, it might be an 8-hour drive, 6-hour drive to cross the border, and then another 3 up to Nova Scotia.
And interestingly, although it's a long drive, it can be part of your trip if you really want to make it that, because one of the ways to get to Cabot, when they were telling us about this while we were there, it was rated as the most scenic drive in the world, as rated by Condé Nast.
Yeah.
So there's some other ways. If you were taking your time to get there, you certainly can do that. But if you want to get there in a hurry, it's a hour and a half flight to Halifax, and then you can either rent a car or there's shuttle service from Cabot. This is a theme you're going to hear throughout, is that they really go the extra mile to do whatever
it's
you
white
want
glove,
to,
no doubt. Yeah,
to make the trip more special. But we get there, hop in the shuttle. 3-hour shuttle drive. I would say that's the hardest part of the trip, as you are in the car for 3 hours, but it's a short plane trip. And the cool thing about that shuttle is that it's a big, comfortable,
it's equipped,
Sprinter. It's got Wi-Fi built in, and
my man will stop for alcohol.
The drivers know. So like we get in the van, and this is something. The driver will probably bring this up to you, but if he doesn't mention it, here's another little pro tip. As soon as he picks us up from the airport, we get about 5 miles out, and he told us this is the exit where people usually have them go off. There's a liquor store right there. You can kind of stock up and bring something to the resort. We didn't take that route, because A, we're not big drinkers, but B, there's so many great cocktails at the resort, which we'll get into.
I took an hour nap in that shuttle, and let me tell you something. I got up and then I plugged into that Wi-Fi and I got back to work.
That's it.
It was fine. It was fast too,
and it's a beautiful drive. It's a scenic drive, so that's super simple. Otherwise, and this is going to be a theme you're going to hear as we talk about this throughout. It really depends on your budget and how big you want to go, because they also have on site. They've got a helicopter pad, so if you want to get there in a real hurry, you can fly into Halifax and helicopter from there. Otherwise, they have, and I don't remember the name, there's a small airport where you can get a private jet into.
That's right, yeah.
And it's only about an hour from Cabot or 15 minutes by helicopter. So theoretically, if budget is not a problem for you and you're coming from New York, you could probably be there on site in 2 hours, door to door, with a private jet and helicopter.
Absolutely. And how about that helicopter ride? Because we saw it while we were playing golf. The guy does the tour right. He brings you around the courses, shows you the whole resort before it lands.
Yep. And that's the hole you're going to hear us talking a lot about. The 16th hole, the signature hole on Cabot Cliffs, is becoming one of the most photographed. And yeah, they're right. We would see them, the helicopters.
Around that cliff.
He would do the nice loops. You see what you're going to play and then land and get you in there. So like I said, a lot of ways, which is cool, a lot of ways to get there. And the other thing too is once you are on site, and this is the stuff that really for me is those things that kind of take a golf trip kind of that next level. It's all built around golf. Golf is the main thing that's there. And they're there to accommodate you, whether it's making sure that there's the convenient grab and go breakfast sandwiches.
What's the stuff we want on a trip, right? The food to go, quick. Where can you get a drink if you need it?
Yes.
Stuff like that.
And you want to make sure that you can get around because it is a bigger resort. We're going to talk about how you've got 3 golf courses there. That's the same idea with the shuttle. They've got constantly running shuttle service that are bouncing around between all of the different accommodations, all the restaurant spots, and the different golf courses. So if you do shuttle there, you don't need a car when you're there. It's a quick phone call. They'll pop over. They shuttle you all around. And half the time, shuttle was part of the fun. You would jump in there with 12 other golfers. And everybody's talking about where you play today, all that type of stuff. So keep that in mind. Let's talk, though, about the golf courses because that's why I'm sure most people are here listening to the podcast. So you've got the 2 main courses, the 2 big courses. The one is Cabot Links.
Yep.
And then the one that gets a lot of the attention is Cabot Cliffs. Both are rated in the top 50 or top 100, depending on what list you're looking at. There's international lists and otherwise. Both, let's say it put this way, they're both top in the world golf courses.
Yeah, this isn't a resort where it's 2 courses and one's the premier and one's like, oh, we got to play the lesser.
Right.
This is 2 incredibly top-notch, 2 different complete vibes, and 2 both the scenes incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it is, like you said earlier, I think white glove is the way to say it. Like if you're looking for it, all the way through, there's nothing to complain about. This is it. And this is why I think it's kind of the best kept secret, because the other thing is we're going to talk about how it actually can be surprisingly affordable. It could also go the other way. If you want to go big and budget's not a problem, we're going to show you how you can, Some of the places you can stay and play there, unmatched. I haven't, and everywhere we've traveled, I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah,
It's that high end. But it doesn't mean you have to rule it out if you're on a tighter budget. So that being said, let's start with the links course.
Yep.
So the links course was the first course at Cabot Cape Breton. It is also a true links course. We've played and we've experienced and seen a lot of what I would call these links style courses that just based on where it is, that you can kind of like roughly call it links or whatever it may be. This looks, plays, and feels like a true links course. In fact, I think the thing we've talked about a lot while we were there is like we felt like we were anywhere but Canada.
Yes, right.
Right? You feel
Scotland
like
vibes.
having been
Ireland.
In our case, we've played in some fantastic English links courses. We played Scottish links courses. This you could be right there. And when I say that, I mean the style of play is truly a lot of using the contours, run it along the ground.
Yep.
That type of the play. And it can be in the spring. It's nice and lush. We'll talk about the different times to go in a second. In the summer, it does get warm enough. They get it crispy, as they said, nice and burnt out.
Right.
It's meant to be that color and meant to be fast, firm, and run it. So it's going to be fun for all levels, but for guys who want a real links challenge, you're going to have it. It's right on the water. It's going to be windy. There's even which hole was it that was as close as you get to Pebble Beach? They called it when we walked up there.
14th on links.
14th. So the wind switches halfway through the season. Yep. So you're either playing it with the wind at your back or the wind at your face.
Yeah.
It's only 100-yard shot.
3-yard or 60-degree wedge.
Exactly.
Depends on the time of year.
3-wood or a wedge. Yeah,
it's crazy.
But what's wild about it is the green. It's deceiving. It looks like it's pitched towards you. It's actually pitched away. And this is where, again, that link style and course management. There, you actually, I would say I'd recommend get the caddies.
Yeah, 100%.
For the first time playing it. Caddy advice, land it short of the green, let it roll on. Because once it hits that green, it just keeps rolling. We both kind of tried to follow that advice, and I hit the middle of the green, almost rolled off the back.
Yeah, right.
So, great hole, infinity-style green. You're going to see a lot of that. The prior green to that is actually a shared green that is 100 yards wide across. So, a lot of character. We looked at it. The undulations in it were something like we hadn't seen anywhere other than the old course.
Yep, absolutely.
So, in a nutshell, what you get is a fantastic links experience, very walkable course, and it's true links golf. One of the top links golf courses in the world, and it's right in Canada.
Yeah, and that's one of the 3 courses. That's the only one that's on kind of the main property of Cabot over there in that area. You've got some of those restaurants which we're talking about in a second, the lodge.
Yes.
But then there's the shuttle down the road to some other lodging with the other 2 courses. But still, despite it being, a half a mile down the road?
Yeah.
The whole resort itself is very convenient.
It is, and they're both located on the same coastline.
Yeah, and what's
so
great
you're on
about,
the coast either way.
No matter what, this is so genius about it. Did you notice that they have 4 or 5 different kinds of lodging there that we're going to get into? Every single one has a view of the water.
Yeah.
And the home is perched on where they built it. I mean, there's no shortage. No one is not seeing that view.
I think that was the brilliance of this resort and why we're so jazzed on it was the fact that they made it feel like no matter how you were doing it, whether you're doing it really big or on a little bit more of a budget, you were going to get the same top level experience. And one was like that, whether you're staying in a
lower level
in a
lodge.
single bedroom lodge or all the way up to the biggest cottages, they all had a view of the golf course and the ocean. Every single one of them.
Yep.
So you had the links course. Then down the road is almost, I want to call it the big boy. It's the Cliffs course. This is the one that gets a lot of the photographs.
Yep.
Core and Crenshaw design, top 50 in the world, all the chops that you can imagine. So, you're getting a fantastic trip out of it for all the reasons we're saying. But like, if you're someone who just wants to, kind of put it in your pencil case or whatever it is to check those boxes that you've played top golf course in the world, you can play 2 of them in one trip, which is pretty fantastic. We've had some other trips, like for example, when we were down to Copperhead.
Oh yeah! Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking like down in Florida. You have, of course, the Copperhead course, which was, it's a top-ranked PGA Tour course, and there were other great courses there, but they weren't sniffing world rankings, right? Here you got 2 world-ranked courses. So the Cliffs course, it plays a little bit more traditional. It's still got a very linksy feel to it. You're right there against the water. You've got the wind to contend with. But here it's designed a little bit more of a modern course in the way that you can... hit it a little higher. You can kind of hold greens a little bit better. But one hole after another, super unique. Core and Crenshaw did an incredible job, as you would expect they would.
Yeah, no
with
doubt.
this course.
I'm going to honestly say, and this is a bold statement, that it might be the best closing 4-hole stretch in public golf out there.
Yeah.
From 15 to 18 is probably the best golf. Now, I've never played at Pebble Beach. I've seen it. I played video games. We've seen it. Like I blueprinted that place in my head. I felt like I've experienced it. But I mean, I think this is up there. Just your nonstop views from, I mean, especially when you get to 16.
Yeah.
That
but
famous hole.
And in no way does it, kind of take away from the other holes. Fantastic holes. You have the second hole. One of the
how
most
about that?
unique golf holes I've
Yeah.
ever played in my life, with a really testy kind of tee shot that requires you to place it into the fairway and give yourself a look at one of the most unique looking greens I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Multi-tiered with two wings of the green coming off in either direction, and depending where the pin is, it can be a very challenging shot. Then they have there's segments to the golf course. You've got the dunes holes, which are down by the water, but they're in the dunes, and there was that par 3 that again, here it gets a little bit link style. Theoretically you could putt it right up the gut almost to get it all the way there, but a very dune lined hole with a bowl shaped punch bowl type of shaped green that was just so unique. So you just felt like you were getting multiple styles of golf all in one place on that course.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
It really was. So that's where, though, like Mike was saying, contending with like a trip like to Pebble, the final stretch of holes, I would say visually easily rivals any of the visuals and sight lines you're going to get at Pebble Beach.
Right.
The
Water
cliffs are
crashing against
dramatic.
cliffs,
It's
sure.
all those types of things. And the nuance and the challenges there as well. Again, don't forget, this is a Core Crenshaw design. Some of the best design, golf architects on the planet, and just the way they thought through the holes, so smart. And having caddies and asking around, there were so many different favorite holes there. One of my favorite questions to ask while we're playing through is, "What's your favorite hole? What's your favorite hole?"
Right.
Caddies wouldn't even be the holes that get all the pictures.
Yeah, I love that.
And then before we move on to the final, the short course, the one last thing that I'll say, though, is if you're the person going there just for the day trip, if you live in Canada and you can day trip it over there, I think the obvious thing is that everyone's going to want to play the cliffs. However, interestingly, as we asked around, the statement that everyone come back with is that if you get to play it regularly, they said you date the cliffs course, but you marry the links course.
Yeah, right.
And it seemed that the people who played it regularly, the nuance and the style of play and the different ways that you can approach the golf course, the links course will just offer you countless opportunities to play it so many different ways. In so many ways it became people's favorite. And I'd say low-key, I enjoyed it better than the cliffs course.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I don't disagree. I thought the links was one of the nicest courses I've ever played, but for something about the cliffs gave it a little more push for me. And then it wasn't just those views. Like I said, I think it was that closing stretch that really sold me. And when I played better on the cliffs, so that always helps.
Yeah, that does help.
It does help.
When you
big
play
time,
better.
yeah.
So let's get into the final one. Then I want to talk about some of the accommodations. I want to talk about the foods that's there, because we're really building this as an example of it's not just a day trip. It's really, if you want to do this right, I think you do it over a 3 or 4 day stretch, stay there, and really experience everything it has to offer, because there's so much there. But the final one and the newest one is the Nest, which is their short course. And the Nest, what I really liked about this is that we've played so many great short courses, from the Cradle to the Baths at a Black Wolf Run to the Chain. There's so many fantastic ones out there, and what they all have in common is that laid back kind of style to them.
Yeah. Play with 10 buddies, chill.
Exactly. Going off in big groups. It's very
Barefoot.
fast and easy to play. Yep. Shoes not required, so
right.
to speak. It's that vibe, right? But where I think from a more serious end of it goes is that if you can start your trip off with a loop around the Nest, it has a lot of the same style of play as you're going to see both on the links and the cliff courses, meaning that there's going to be firm, fast greens that you want to play the contours, not necessarily go after the greens, because you could end up off the green and in a place you don't want to be.
Absolutely.
The advice that we got was use the flat stick a lot, putting from off the greens. It's true in that way, the link style golf. And the Nest was a great way to get started with that. It's also on a very elevated piece of the property. So the views were absolutely stunning. The sunset up there was something I'll never forget.
Yeah, one of the best we've ever had.
Absolutely. So I'll jump ahead to say one pro tip. There are the rates change, and for the most updated rates, definitely you want to check out their website. But the rates change for both the golf and the accommodation based on the time of year. This is not going to be a true year-round resort because of how far north it is, and there's going to be some peak and off-peak times. What I would say is if your budget allows it, play during peak because the daylight is so long there.
Yeah.
You're so far up north. The sun is up, in July.
It was 5:30.
Even earlier. I mean, the sun was all the way up by 5:30. We were getting up at 5. The sun was already cracking through. 9, 10 o'clock, that sun was setting. I remember we were sitting in we'll talk about the restaurants in a second, but we were sitting in the Panorama restaurant until almost 10:30. And guys were still rolling in on 18.
That's right.
But the reason I say that is if you want to stack and pack the most golf you can possibly play, by going in there in that July-ish time frame, you could potentially play more rounds than your body can deal with, right? You could get up, you could play a round on the nest, warm up, then go out there, play cliffs in the morning, play the links course in the afternoon, come back and play the nest again. There's so many options.
It's another reason why I love this resort, because you can literally do this in 3 days and be back. What are those golf trips out there that are just quick and easy? Maybe the guys only have a long weekend. We have one day off, right? This is the place to do it. Places like Myrtle, great, but I think you're spending 4 or 5 days there, maybe 4. You know what I mean? But I think you could get there. Because, like I said, if you go during the summer, you could play both courses in one day.
You could,
easily.
That's why I think that peak is worth that little bit more that you're spending for the peak rates,
no doubt,
because you'll play that much more golf.
And if you want to splurge and play the cliffs or the links twice, then it gives you the opportunity.
My recommendation though would be if you're going to play anything twice, play the links twice.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard because you do have to book your tee times in advance. So it's not like you can be there and be like, I really like the links. Let me go back out there. I would say if you're looking in advance, give yourself at least one round on the cliffs, book the links twice if you can, because it was just that much fun, that playable, and then get the nest, many rounds in on the nest as you can.
Yeah.
That would be my kind of pro tip, so to speak, having been there.
Yep.
Let's talk about the accommodations. So here's where it really varies. And the cool thing is it always feels like a very small, more intimate resort. There's nothing there that you're not going to go there and find any, towering hotels. Right. There's nothing like that
nothing
there.
like that. I don't think you'll find that at any Cabot properties.
You may not.
Yeah, you may not.
And I think something that was cool is that it very seamlessly kind of worked into the property. The architects that they used for the lodging as well, really seamlessly fit in there, and it's all intentional. Like I said, I think part of the business model of Cabot is to just kind of do it right or don't do it at all.
Yeah,
right. So starting with, they've got the lodge room. So there's a 72 room lodge located right in the center of the property, which is right where the links course is. You also have there the pro shop, and that's where you check in for the golf over there and things like that. But these are really cool because they start around $400 a night. Again, considering different times of the year, but about $400 a night you can pick up. They've got some fantastic king bedroom rooms. They've got some double bedrooms.
You shack up with someone that's $200 a guy a night.
Exactly.
3-night trip, not bad.
You got the 2 queen rooms. You can pop in there, and this would be, I'd say, the least expensive way of going about it.
Right.
And again, like we mentioned earlier, you're really not missing out on anything because it's beautiful. All the rooms are right there, lining the golf course down the first tee of the links course, and they all overlook the ocean. I mean,
yeah, they all do.
How do you beat that, right?
Yeah, you can't go wrong. It's pretty much anything you book.
And like I said, it's on the low end. Then moving up from there, they've got the villas. So they've got the golf villas.
Yep.
And these are your 2 to 4 bedroom villas. Again, more fabulous options to stay. They're right there on the links course, lining the course. Fantastic.
Yeah, they look nice.
And this is what it comes down to, is how you're staying, and if you're traveling with a group and do you guys all want to stay together, then you might want a 2 or 4 bedroom place, or instead of grabbing a bunch of lodge rooms. Then you've got where we stayed, which was the hillside homes.
Hillside homes.
And these
are the 2 bedroom, which was perfect, obviously, for us, and then full kitchen.
Yep.
And then you got the patio, which was awesome with the fire pit. gas fire pit, and then again overlooking the water.
Yep. And they've got the 2 bedrooms there. They've got the suites there. Modern, modern architecture. Very minimalist, but just fantastic. The kitchen was awesome. The
Water and
granite
coffee never
countertop.
not stocked. Like talk about white glove. Like we drank a couple cups in the morning, a couple bottles of water. We come back later in the night, everything was filled back up again.
Filled back up.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's pretty wild.
And there's so many unique little things that is even beyond what we can get into here. But even the fact that they've got their own beer that they brew just for there, the Cabot Lager, we would throw those in the fridge, have those. So if you do want to cook, you've got the kitchen there. I don't know. Me personally, the restaurants are just too good to sit around and cook.
And the convenience of stuff, like everything was walkable from where you're staying to get breakfast.
Yes,
which was key. Golfers, we just want to grab something and get to that first tee, right?
Yes.
There's not much time for sit down breakfast, and they figured it out. They've got it accessible, which is key.
Right. So we both it was like the Cabot Bar, which was over by the Links, which had the grab and go breakfast there.
Yep.
And then there was
that like stand, that hut.
Yeah, I don't even know if it had a name.
Yeah, I don't know if it had
right
a name.
outside the first tee box of Cabot Cliffs.
You can get lobster rolls in the afternoon. You get breakfast in the morning. It's perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So it's super simple. So we stayed in those hillside homes, just incredible.
Yeah.
Over there as well as you have the Dunes cottages. Now this is where we're going up in size and expense. You've got these 3 and 4 bedroom cottages. Modern, all very newly built, modern amenities inside and out, gorgeous.
It's the splurge trip.
It is.
You're getting into the splurging trip.
And if you really are ready,
the retirement party,
that's right.
Something. Yeah.
This is the big, turning 40, turning 50, whatever it may be. But that's speaking of which, if you really want to tip this thing out, so to speak, and go all the way, you go up to the cliffside residences. These are stunning, incredible 4 and 5 bedroom homes. Each bedroom comes with its own bathroom, so they're all basically suites. Then you had this huge, massive shared living space, huge dining room table where you could seat, 10, 12 people, massive chef's kitchen. We're talking in there, there's, the wine refrigerators that are there, everything, big living room, back patios, and every single one of them is right on the golf course.
On the course. The option for a chef is available.
Absolutely. They'll even come in. You're talking Nova Scotia, right? Lobster boil. Come on. They're not only is the golf right there, they're catching what you're about to eat about 50 yards off the golf course. Yeah. And we actually had a good time the whole time we're playing golf. We're just watching them out there, the lobster fishermen hauling them in.
Right. You're seeing how this is stacking up better than Pebble Beach as we're explaining this, right?
Right. And then the fact that we'll get into the cost more in a second, but the fact that it'll cost you less than Pebble Beach and it's easier to book as far as availability. Right. That's why we say best kept secret. It may not stay that way for long. This thing becomes more publicly aware of it.
Yeah.
And like I said,
more people do experience it.
I really do too. And I think it's just like people thinking it was so inaccessible in Nova Scotia. It's really not hard to get to. But so you can have the chef come in. They could do a lobster boil in the room. Effectively, what I would say is another kind of tip is that it's not so much just a set in stone menu type of resort. It's more so, as Mike said, the white glove. Just ask. If you want something, ask them.
Right.
And it seems like everyone there is just there to make it happen for you. So like we were touring that room and we were saying like, hey, would you be able to get like a private chef? Like, yeah, like we can do that for you, whatever you want to do. So just tons of stuff there. So when you go all the way up that scale, again, it's gonna vary a little bit based on peak or off peak. But if you rent those cliffside residences, you're running about $3,000 per night.
Right, and if you're going with 4 or 3 other people, because you could stuff, it's 4 bedrooms in there.
Yep.
And maybe you tack on a 5th guy, goes on the couch. There's always the couch guy.
Couch guy.
Right? Then you can get it down to $600, $500 a night. Now that's still a lot.
Yeah.
But look where you are.
It's still a lot.
I heard Pebble is could be thousands a night.
Absolutely.
Easily.
And these accommodations
you can get them.
Are huge.
Right.
Huge. These places. There's no way for me to really fully detail the scale of just how big it is inside of those homes. They're homes on the golf course is what they are.
Right, they are.
But I think the ideal situation, if you have 4 couples going and you split that and each couple gets their own full, with bathroom suite, all as part of this big house with the big common areas, That is absolutely the way to do it.
No doubt about that.
And then, so that's up to 3,000 a night. I want to get into one of my favorite parts in the entire trip, which is the food and drink, because it's another thing you don't want to miss.
Yeah.
In a second, the other thing we got to do is stop there and just thank our other sponsor, FootJoy. And FootJoy is the #1 shoe in golf because they offer the widest selection of sizes, styles, and performance option of any other shoe out there.
Speaking of walking 36.
Speaking of which, we both were wearing them for our entire trip.
Because it's a walking experience.
It is. So that's the other thing. Be ready for it. You are going to be walking when you're out there. Both courses are walking, as well as the Nest if you choose to play it with shoes on.
Yeah.
Which we did.
Yep.
But I had my Hyperflex while I was there. I brought a Premier series while I was there, and just both from performance, look, feel, just. It's impossible to beat.
Yeah, not to mention the stuff that they have for rain, though, because Nova Scotia does get rain.
Yes,
but it comes in quick and it goes quick. So, I remember we were playing, we teed off, it was, really cool in the morning.
Yep.
And then it got really hot in the afternoon. We brought a heat wave with us.
We did.
So, FootJoy had us covered there.
They absolutely did. So, guys, trust the brand that's been #1 forever. Trust your game to FootJoy, the #1 shoe in golf.
All right, so what was your favorite part? Did we not say this already? Everything has been great.
Well, for the food and drink?
Oh, for the food and drink. Yeah.
My favorite part. Ooh, it had to be there's two ways to do this. So you've got the low key pub side, right? So they've got the Witt's Public House, which is a late night, but also great for lunch.
Yeah.
True,
Explosive
pub.
food in there.
You know what I mean? The wings were some of the best wings I've ever had.
Yes.
In there.
Yep.
And you had their beer on tap, all that type of stuff. But if I'm rating it pure best dining experience, it absolutely had to be the panorama.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Remember I said I bring the chef out because I want to
give
him?
him a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said that to the waitress. Bring the chef out. I want to give him
whoever made this halibut, bring him out because I want to give him a hug.
Yeah.
It was that good.
Yeah, it was
What
excellent.
about you?
The experience of the lobster boil at the lobster shack was cool, putting the bib on and everything. But I think the food at Witt's was so good.
It was so good.
I had a smash burger there. I've never had a burger that good in a long time.
And we were there at just the right time of year because it was the middle of the Stanley Cup playoffs, which, of course, it's Canada. They're
going
nuts
crazy,
about it.
yeah.
It was an electric atmosphere in there. It was a true pub feel. Everybody was there from the golf course, and it was just fantastic. So, I would say Witt's is your place for a quick lunch. They've got some great seating outdoors there. It's also for a later dinner. Like on the first day that we got there, we got a little bit later. We wanted a late dinner.
Yep.
Witt's is absolutely amazing for that. The other thing that you've got is that the Cabot Bar. So the Cabot Bar is located right outside, just off the 18th green
we hit that
Cabot
for lunch right
Links.
after links. Yeah.
We did. Fantastic cocktails in there. It's another great spot for a quick grab and go breakfast, which is what we did pretty often. You go in there, it's all set to go. Coffees, breakfast sandwiches, wraps, everything is right there. So when the day that we played links, we started our day there, and then we played links, and after links, we had our lunch there.
Yeah.
Lobster roll.
Yep.
I mean, all floor to ceiling windows. You're sitting there outside the 18th green. Like I said, it's all built around golf. If you're not playing golf, you're watching someone play golf.
Yeah, you're watching.
They've got a great patio right outside there. Great for a drink. You sit.
Perfect.
And everyone gathers there for sunset.
Yeah, it's sunsets right there. And two of my favorite things that we didn't mention yet. Number one was there's the Cabot cookie that's on the first tee.
Absolutely.
Both courses. They have a little white little vase there that you could just reach in and grab a cookie. It's so good.
Secret ingredient in it, we found out.
Coconut. Yep. So good.
Yep.
And then the little sprinkle, and I heard they're going to start doing this more often, maybe weekly, and hopefully if you book, it'll fall on your trip, is they bring in a bagpiper. And let me tell you something, that experience was one of the best.
It was one of the most memorable trip experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, just when you thought, the sun's going down, we're having a drink, we're watching golfers, all of a sudden you hear this bagpipe, you're like, come on.
Yeah.
And then you go and you watch, and it's like...
And what I think is cool about it, too, is there's nothing about it that's kitschy. It's very genuine.
Yeah.
Right there in the town of Inverness is a very big Scottish population. So in a lot of ways, it's not, like I said, it's not trying to be a links course and you get kitschy stuff like that. It is a very much honoring the links tradition in an area where there are a lot of people that's their heritage. They're there. So I truly felt like it was genuine in so many ways. And I really like that. So you've got the Cabot bar that's right there. And then I think you got to do it at least once. the upscale, the real nice restaurant on location is Panorama. It is located just above on the second
Celebrate
floor.
the milestone up there.
That's the place.
That's the place.
It is. It's a great place to have a dinner on the final day of your trip. Celebrate your trip. Absolutely amazing food. I'm a big seafood guy. When you're there, where it's so fresh, you gotta go all seafood. Like I said, I had the halibut dish, which was just outrageously good. We both had an appetizer that was a clam with caviar.
Yeah,
that was like I said. I mean, if you really want to do it up, if you're ready to splurge a little bit, those big milestones. This is the place to do it. It's not going to disappoint.
Yeah, no
so
doubt.
The food was absolutely tremendous. What did you end up having? I don't remember. Do you remember what you had for dinner that night?
Dude, I blanked on it. I'm blanking on what I that's the one restaurant I forgot what I ate for dinner. I could tell you what I had it with.
The end of the trip, you're too tired.
I'm too tired by then.
I just can't forget that halibut. It was just too good.
Yeah, I know you were loving it, but don't forget though the conversion. We can talk about that the fact that the U.S. dollar goes a long way up there.
That's exactly right.
So it wasn't as expensive as it's listed.
Exactly. Yep. So general, kind of the things like and I want to talk about one more restaurant spot in a second, but just kind of hopping into it, the dollar being pretty strong to the Canadian dollar right now. The conversion rate. So we had, it depends, and you got to look at the website for the rates depending on when you're going. During peak, pretty much the highest you're going to pay for a tea time was around $360 US.
Yep.
I know that's expensive, but it is by no means out of line for a top 50 in the world golf course. You're going to pay that at courses that aren't as good as this course, right?
Yeah,
That's the reality.
Uh-huh.
But if you're also comparing it, making that comparison, but going to Pebble Beach, and you think about, even though to get a tea time at Pebble Beach, you got to stay there, and how much that stay costs, it can get very expensive. But keep an eye. There are also a lot of really great reduced rates, especially if you play Twilight, and there was lots and lots of Twilight golf being played for that reason. You drop down around $200 to play it, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But even for the food and drink, because of the fact that the dollar was strong, it really ended up you saving a little bit of money there.
Absolutely. It's a good move, the Twilight.
Yeah.
Save you some bucks while you're there because you're going to get the daylight.
Right.
Yep.
And then the last dining experience that absolutely has to be mentioned is, of course, it's Coors Lobster Shack, which, we kind of like just affectionately called The Barn.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of this mixed indoor-outdoor space, great hang spot, and they've got this perfect combination. The reason to go back more than once is because you can go the full lobster boil.
Yeah.
The full Nova Scotia lobster boil.
Yeah.
You get the full lobster that's just been caught, great sides, absolutely incredibly good. They also had a lobster chips and dip appetizer.
Yeah.
So you want that seafood,
So
you got it. But they also have a great barbecue there as well. So you choose between barbecue or seafood. Either way, it's right in this barn setting. They've got the Cabot beers on draft and everything there.
Cornhole games outside.
Exactly. You've got upstairs. There's more games. They've it's a really great hang spot for the end of your day or whatever it may be. But whether you're into barbecue or you're into seafood, that Coors Lobster Shack is that's the spot right there.
Yeah,
that's
the
another
spot.
Can't miss.
And by the way, that's my steak over the mashed potatoes that I had.
See, this is why he takes pictures of his food so he can remember.
So now I can remember. And yeah, that was good. And by the way, your halibut in the corner, I see it in the distance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was too good. So what it really boils down to, like I said, really incredible golf experience that we wanted to share with you guys. It was one that we knew and we had a feeling that was going to be really great, but it exceeded our expectations in so many ways that we had to kind of dig into it here. And hopefully it inspires other people to take a similar type of trip. But the big pros when it comes to if you're talking about that big massive trip, those once in a lifetime trips, I'm not taking a thing against Pebble, and I hope one day that I have the good fortune to get to play it myself.
Same.
That being said, Pebble Beach is notorious for being very hard to get a tee time. You're booking very, very far out in advance. It's very, very expensive. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful. They've got a short course there as well. But here, contrast to that, I think you're still getting all of the amazing golf, Corin Crenshaw, the links course that's there, high rated. If you're there for the incredible, breathtaking views, you get that here as well. But it's far less expensive than Pebble Beach. and it's far more accessible because you could book. You're not talking about booking years in advance,
right?
A couple of months in advance, and you've
That's
got
all
this
you
thing
need.
booked.
Yeah, that's the best part.
Yeah. So it's a great kept secret. In a lot of ways, I want to keep it that way, but I can't be too selfish to not share it here. We had a great time there. Everyone who's kind of watched our main channel videos that we put out about it have been kind of saying the same thing and echoing the sentiment that we were talking about while we were there in the comments. It's one to definitely give a look to. If you are watching this or listening to this podcast because you're preparing to go, I'm excited for you. It's going to be an incredible, unforgettable experience. Try to hit all those places we talked about. If it's just a place that you're just looking for inspiration for another place to go, a new golf trip that you can be you and your buddies can be talking about forever, this is one that has to be in that conversation. So subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Let us know what you think in the comments. We'll see you in the next one.